Hi everyone, Jeanette here with Vivo Vintage Designs. Before we get started with today's video, let me remind you that all the products used will be listed in the description box along with links if you'd like to take a look. And please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps my channel and I appreciate it very much. So in my last video I created a flower with alcohol ink, and then I used acrylic ink to blow out these veins all over. Here's an example of another one that I did, creating this veining over the petals, which I find very interesting. And as I was creating my last video, I had a lot of ideas running through my head for another flower. So today we're going to experiment again and see what we can come up with. So I'll be using photo paper, my airbrush, my Ranger stamper, and the Dr. Martin's acrylic ink. So let's see what we can do. First, I want to create a background for my flower, so I'm going to spray my paper with some alcohol, and the alcohol that I'm using is 99%. So I'm going to just start stamping in a little background here using the ink that's already on my stamper. I'm not adding any extra ink yet. And let me explain the background sound. Somebody commented that the background sound in my studio is a little bit distracting. So I find it annoying as heck, but I work in my basement and the furnace is right behind me. So what you hear is probably my furnace, or it could be my water softener. And until I move my studio, it's something I have to put up with, so I apologize. I know it's annoying. So I've run out of ink on this stamper pretty much, so I'm going to switch it out to another pad that has ink on it, and I'm just going to add a little bit of alcohol to the felt pad and see if that gives me a little bit more color. So the great thing about this stamper and saving your felt pieces is that you can reactivate the ink that's on the stamper. And now that's my dog barking at only God knows what. Someday maybe I'll have a studio where I can just close the door. But in the meantime, this is what we deal with. Okay. So I'm pretty satisfied with that. I'm going to use my dryer, make sure that's dry. And as I tell you all the time, I'm never concerned about my edges. I have this paper taped down because it comes on a roll and it curls like this. So unless I tape it down, it's very hard to work on. I have an order for Kirkland paper out there, so I'm just waiting for it to arrive. But anyway, so I just taped it down. I don't worry about my edges because I can always crop it, so that's never a concern. Okay, so I'm going to create the center of my flower, or the first step to the center of my flower, using some pitch black. So I'm going to put that down and dry it. And then I'm going to use just a little drop of alcohol on the edge of the black to blow out a shadow for my center later on. Make sure to blow the ink, or rather the alcohol and the ink completely dry. And I'm not too concerned about these being too thin or anything, because that's all going to be covered up if this works out the way I planned. What I'm really concerned about is creating this shadow that you see. So I'm using a minimal amount of alcohol, just one little drop. I'm not even squeezing the bottle, I'm just letting one drop come out on its own and then blowing it out. Since I'm getting this effect, I might as well go around and hopefully it'll work with what I have in mind. So I'm just going to see if I can get the same effect all the way around. Okay, I'm happy with that. And now I just have a little piece of photo paper, and I'm using the glossy side just to put down the ink. And since I've not tried this before, I'm just going to do one color at a time. So the first color I'm using is the magenta, and I'm going to put down one drop, and I'll be using this dotting tool, and the links for this will be in the description box as well. They're very inexpensive, and I think you get like a set of 5 of them or so. So I'm going to touch the center of my paper with a dot of the magenta, and then I'm going to push it out like that. And I find that moving the airbrush across it will give it all these little frilly lines. But I'm using the ink in the center so that I can get more of those frilly lines towards the center of my flower. Oh, that was a good one. And my thought is to create the entire flower using the acrylic inks, just to see what happens. Need a little bit more ink. Okay, so rather than to have you watch me blow out this particular color and the next, I'm going to pause, and then I'll show you in a little bit what I've done so far. Okay, I've finished with the pink. Now I'm switching to Spectrum Yellow. That'll be my next color. It doesn't really show up very well over the green, but I'm still going to continue with it because maybe it'll help with the background. Okay, I'll be back with the next color in a moment. Okay, so this is the flower so far with 2 colors, the Spectrum Yellow and the magenta. Let's add a little orange. And this one is called actually Spectrum Red, but it looks kind of orangey. So I'm just going to put down a little drop, and what I find about these inks is that a little drop goes a really long way. So that's really great. So I'm just putting it in the center and blowing it out. I'll be back when I'm done with this color. Alright, so that's the flower so far with the orange, and now I have two greens. I have a grass green and an emerald green, and I'm thinking that maybe it's best to use just the grass green because the other may be too dark. So let's see what happens with this color. Because the background is green, it may just blend in. Let's find out. I also find that this particular green is really watery, even though I've shaken it, in comparison to the other green. But I really wanted to use most of the colors, so I'm going to continue to blow this out. Maybe not use as much of it, then see what happens. Alright, I'll be back in a moment with the next color. Okay, I'm finished with the green, and I just realized that I should explain to you that the acrylic ink is water-based, and of course the alcohol ink is alcohol-based. So hopefully you can see that the acrylic ink is not disturbing the alcohol ink that I've put down already, not even my center. So if I were to blow my background, my center out a little bit more to get a little bit more definition with my shadow, it won't disturb the acrylic ink because one is water-based and the other is alcohol-based. So let's do how about some blue? Let's see what happens with the blue. This one is called True Blue. That's a pretty color. Maybe a little dark for this flower, but I'm liking it so far. And can you see what this, it almost looks like a lightning flower. Like there's lightning coming from the center of the flower. Alright, let me finish this and I'll come back with the next color. Alright, so I've gone ahead and blown out a few different colors. I used violet, ruby red, orange, and now I'm going to try white, which I've not tried before, so I'm not sure what this is going to do, but I'm going to give it a try anyway. Okay, I can see that the white does not behave the same as the other colors. So I'm going to try and cover that up by going over it with other colors that I still have on my palette. That did not work out well. I was hoping that maybe it would brighten it up a bit, but instead it just kind of muddied it a little bit. So I'm just going to continue to blow these over it and hope that I can cover it up. And since I have the ink on my piece of paper, I might as well use it up. And what I'm finding is that the more I go across the paper like this instead of in small back and forth, if I go across in a more wide path, I get more of those little frillies that I like. Closer to the edge here, I mean closer to the center. So right now I'm just using up whatever ink I have left here. And I think this is the violet, the purple. And I'm curious to see how it's going to turn out once I do the center. So far it's really interesting to look at, and I'll give you a close-up so you can see what I mean. See if I can cover up some more of this white. Well, that may be as good as it's going to get. Okay, so let's get to the center now. I'm going to use Snow Cap. And a micro brush. And let's see if it brightens it up a little bit. Since I have the white on this side already, I'm going to make that my the direction of my light source. And maybe that will help hide it a little bit. So I'm putting down my first layer of the Snow Cap. And I'm going to dry in between layers. And I'm going to start at the top every time because that's where I want it to be the most white. And as I start to lose the ink on the brush, that's when I start to move down because I want that area to be the shaded area. So I want less ink in that down there. Dry it again. I think that looks pretty good. All right, so let's bring you closer so that you can see the effect. It's pretty interesting. I don't know that it's my favorite, but it's fun to experiment and see what you can get. And of course, I will play some more, but I just wanted to share this with you. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and feel free to share my videos if you like. All right, everyone, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.